there are two marks against you, she said. She said you're black and you're a woman.
Mm.
And so it's not enough to be twice as good. You're going to have to be at least 3 times as good.
Mm.
So that even if they don't like you because you're black, and if they don't respect you because you're a woman, they will still employ you anyway because you are so far ahead.
You are listening to Christians in Corporate, the podcast that inspires corporate Christians to bring their full selves to work by shining a light on successful corporate executives and leaders across the globe. I'm your host, Pejura Kentarian. Let's get into it. Today, I'm joined by the one and only Jo Saxton. She's a speaker, author, leadership coach, and someone who is deeply committed to helping women step fully into the call God has placed on their lives. Jo's story spans across ministry, nonprofit leadership, church planting, and now empowering women in leadership all around the world. She's the founder of the Aza Collective, the executive director of the 25, and also the co-host of the Lead Stories podcast. In today's conversation, we talk about everything from her cross-cultural leadership journey to the gap in representation in corporate spaces and the resources women actually need to rise. Get ready because this episode will challenge, inspire, and equip you to lead with boldness and soul. All right, Jo, so great to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Doing good. It's good to be with you.
Yeah, it's good for you to be here. I know we exchanged messages a couple of months ago, and I was like, I can't wait to get her on. So once I got the email to say that you're coming, I'm like, yes, I'm so excited. And you are someone who I really admire. Several reasons. I think fundamentally it's because we have a very similar background. And let me explain what I mean, right? So you were born and raised in the UK. So was I.
Yeah.
Your parents and you are originally of Nigerian descent. So am I. You moved stateside, specifically the Midwest. So did I. I live in Chicago. You live in Minneapolis. And then also you empower women with your leadership development program. And so do I. That's what I do in the corporate world. I was like, wait, 4 for 4? Come on.
Look at her.
I was like, I need to chat to this woman of faith in the leadership world. So thank you so much for coming on today. Today, we're going to be talking about your story. We're going to talk about your journey. And we're also going to be talking about your leadership development program that you have for women to help them develop professionally and also personally. But before we get started, I always like to start with an icebreaker. Just kind of break the ice. So I feel like this is one that you may like. And this is called This or That UK-US edition.
Will we have friends by the end of this?
I think we'll have friends. They'll either be in the UK or the US, but we'll have friends.
That's true. That's true.
So all you need to do is just choose I'm going to say UK edition of something and a US edition of something. Okay. And you just say what your preference is. Because for me, when I moved stateside, I felt like it was an adjustment. There were some things in the UK that I really, really missed.
Yes.
And then there were some things in the US that I really, really loved, aka space. There's a lot of space in the US compared to the UK. So anyway, all right, let's get started. Right. You ready?
Okay, let's go.
All right. So the UK, the office UK or the US? That had to be the first one.
I knew that. I was like, how do I feel about this? How do I feel? Because as soon as you said, I thought she's going to ask me about the office. She's going to ask me about the office. And I think I'm going to go with the US.
Really?
I am because it's longer. I think because it's longer. I think if R1 in the UK had got, I mean, it's the OG, so it's kind of compare it. But if it had gone on longer, it would be the UK one.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It didn't give me as much to work with.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I would say the UK, like the dry humor.
It's painful, isn't it?
It's just like
it's painful. I do still watch it. I do still go back to clips of the UK one just because it's a different kind of pain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. True. All right, next one. Wimbledon or Super Bowl?
Wimbledon.
Okay, all right. That was clear given.
Yeah. I still don't understand. I
don't understand either. Honestly, I think it's the hype around Super Bowl and the commercials and people coming over.
I get excited.
Yeah.
I get excited and I watch with everybody. I go to the parties. I eat the food. I cannot understand the game.
Same here.
I've tried and now I'm like, I'm just here for the commercials now. Halftime show.
We're aligned. All right. Fish and chips or burger and fries?
Oh, fish and chips.
Yep. Salt and vinegar, tartar sauce. Come on now.
Yeah. I'm very serious about that, actually.
Yeah. Same. All right. Wearing jumpers or wearing sweaters?
Can we call them jumpers? Because I miss it being called jumpers.
Listen, same here. And can we also call dungarees?
Oh my God. Because what is an overall?
I know, right?
I love you and I love you, but they're dungarees, man. You're missing out on the richness.
I know. All right.
So funny.
Cadbury's UK or Hershey's US?
Now, here's the thing. I have to tell you the whole story on this because I actually don't like chocolate.
Oh.
But even I know that Hershey's is messy.
Listen.
And that there is nothing but Cadbury's. So every time I go, I have Americans who come up to me and say, when you're going to London next, would you just
the real chocolate?
Yeah.
Yeah. That melts in your mouth.
That's actually made of chocolate and everything.
Yeah. Awesome.
Every time.
All right. Okay. This one is interesting to me. UK style Chinese or American style Chinese? They're different, Jo.
Oh, they are. Oh, I might go UK because I've fallen in love with Vietnamese food since moving to the States. And so I don't often eat Chinese food here now.
Okay.
Like, given my options, I go Vietnamese, but at the same time, there is something.
Yeah.
And my friends from school, it was her family's restaurant. So, and they
behind the scenes.
It would almost feel disrespectful to family friends to say US Chinese food.
That's fair. Yeah. All right. Just a couple more. Trainers or sneakers?
Trainers.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This next one's going to be obvious. Trousers or pants?
Trousers, man.
Yes.
Because otherwise it's underwear.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm like,
yeah. All right. Last one. Boots or trunk?
Boot.
Yeah.
Trunk as in car? Is that what?
Like, put it in the trunk. I have a question for you, actually. I know you have two young kids. Were they born stateside?
They were born stateside.
Okay. My kids are born stateside too, and it's funny because it's like my kids switch their accents when they talk to me. So like for me, they're like, "Mommy, can I have water?" But when they're with their teacher, like, "Hey, can I have water?" And I'm like switching it.
My kids have their accent is pretty consistently stateside, but their vocabulary is very
Yeah.
And so even their friends are like, what?
Yeah.
And so one of their long-term friends is like, "Oh, they're speaking English again."
Right.
You just need to know that they speak English as well as American.
Right.
And they call themselves bilingual. They're like, "We're bilingual. We speak English, and American English.
Right.
They're not the same language."
Yeah. I love that. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was fun. Awesome. Well, I mentioned it in the beginning. Let's get started. I mentioned it in the beginning that, again, you were born in the UK, but I want for those people who don't know you, I know you're a public figure, but for those people who don't know you, would love for you to kind of tell your origin story. Where did it start? How you grew up, who you grew up with.
Yeah, so I was born in London, in South London, and I feel so fun. I was born in London, and like Nigerian families, which means my parents weren't together, but you know what it's like. There are so many of us.
Yeah,
and there's a large Nigerian immigrant population in amongst others, and so I grew up in a part of London which was very diverse, an immigrant community, working class. I mean, it's completely gentrified now, but back then it was lots of Irish kids, lots of Portuguese kids, lots of Greek kids, Cypriot kids, Spanish kids, Jamaican kids, Ghanaian kids, lots of us. And so a very eclectic community, but lots of cultures, amazing food, lots of music, and then lots of aunties. So many aunties. I mean, heaven forbid you got in trouble because you go and visit every single one of the aunties. And I think my understanding of leadership really, it wasn't initially an understanding of leadership. It was an understanding of survival, first of all. Now, my parents had been my family had been in Nigeria had been in London for 20 years by the time I came along. They moved in the 60s and stuff. But I remember my auntie sitting me down and saying, "Hey, it's not going to be easy to make it here. So you are going to have to be at least twice as good as everybody else." And it was a very calm conversation. She said, it's not easy making it in this country. She goes, you're going to have to be, and it was on Sunday night when your hair's being done, and all and all that kind of stuff. And she goes, you're going to have to, she goes, it's not enough that there are 2 marks against you. She said, you're black and you're a woman. And so it's not enough to be twice as good. You're going to have to be at least 3 times as good. So that even if they don't like you because you're black, and if they don't respect you because you're a woman, they will still employ you anyway because you are so far ahead. And I just remember, I was like 8 or something. So I just nodded and like, yes, auntie. Here you go, right. But I think it certainly set me up for a number of things. It set me, in some ways, it was just like, this is the landscape. They were contextualizing their existence.
Yeah.
They were trying to make sense of these women who were very innovative, very creative, very dynamic, but were very limited by circumstances beyond their control, and who were committed to their children experiencing differently.
Yeah.
So I think that was a really formative conversation. And I think we heard the talk in many, many forms over the years.
Yeah.
Like I could switch out different aunties who would give me a snippet of that conversation. And so school was not an optional extra. Do you know what I mean? Nigerian. Yeah. So are you going to become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or an accountant? Which one? Which one? Which one of these? And I'm like, I'm not really good at any of these. But anyway, and so I had a really formative faith experience in my late teens. I'd grown up in, not from my family that are into there are a number of religions in my family, but in my late teens, I was a Christian, but kind of walked away, came back to faith, and just really sensed this sense of calling. And I didn't really know what it meant. It wasn't, you're going to do this, this, and this. It was just God defining my life in some way. And it caused some massive schisms in the family. It caused some real confusion because obviously I'm the youngest in my family as well, and I'm a girl.
Are you the only girl?
No, there's a boy, girl.
Okay.
And so I'm the youngest. And so it's like, who is the baby who are you telling your elders that God's called you to do? It wasn't going to go
Sounds like Joseph.
It wasn't going to go well. Joseph with jollof.
Oh, yeah.
And it just wasn't going to go well. And I don't think I appreciate, to be fair, I don't know I'd fully appreciated what it had cost for my family either to live in London and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it was broken in all kinds of ways, but they had a point about certain things. But also, do you know what I mean? But also, you're all trying to be faithful to your life. So I got to my university years. I studied theology, biblical studies, and stuff. And I just knew a number of things. One, that God has called me, but also that I'm very naturally very ambitious. I just always have been. Always been my wiring. It's just. And I didn't have a problem with it. It just was what I was. I also know I didn't want to be poor again. So those, you know what I mean? I'm like, been there, done that, didn't like it. Do you know what I mean? Didn't like, did not appreciate. I know money is not everything, but I also know poverty isn't fun.
Right.
So I think those were the threads that were forming me. I worked at the church for a number of years. I was a youth pastor. I was a college pastor, and I just had this ongoing fierce thread line about women in leadership. It took me a while to work out I was a leader, to be honest. Because I didn't feel very confident, but I was very responsible. I was always like, I was the buck would stop with me. But I would look in these spaces, wherever I was, and I'd see that I was often the only woman in the room, often the only black person in the room, and I'm just like, okay, here we go again. And I think there was that pressure of, man, I cannot mess this up, because if I mess it up, when are they going to open a door to a woman again? When are they going to open a door to a black person again? And so, and I think this twice as good. There was a lot of pressure building over the years, and a lot of stretching building over the years for me. That was part of my journey. Moved to the States as part of a church partnership. And I don't know, Pedro, if this would be your story as well, but for me, as a Christian in the UK, very much living out our faith was going to be at work. It was going to be at work. There weren't ministries as such in the same way. The church was way too small for that. And it was, so part of my faith was, how do I live faithfully to God to be part of the renewal of all things in society? And what career is he going to give me to do that? Where is he sending me to do that?
Yeah.
And so when I thought mission field, that could have been marketing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could have been medicine because Nigerian,
Yeah.
but I don't decide blood. It could have been church, but they were all equally weighed to me.
Yeah.
It was not like go to be a church thing, or they were all calling.
Yeah. Yeah.
In that space. And so it was quite jarring coming to the US and calling actually being geared a lot more to faith-based things. And where for me the gap is it meant that a lot of the discipleship, particularly for women, didn't involve careers. A lot of the formation, the leadership formation, if there was any, didn't involve careers. And I would stumble upon women leaders in multiple spaces when I was speaking at an event where women were, and sometimes invited to speak at corporate events, where women were like almost like gasping for thirst.
Yeah.
And the best way I can describe it is a friend of mine who runs a large retail company said, the church knows what to do with my money. It doesn't know what to do with me.
Yeah.
It doesn't know what to do with me.
Yeah.
And these women who are like, we have got all these gifts, we have got all these talents. And it wasn't just that they wanted to contribute to the church in that way, but they wanted to be understood that when they were out there in their various spheres, has anyone got our back?
Yeah.
Has anybody prayerfully got our back?
Yeah.
I was in Silicon Valley a few years ago doing a leadership lunch with a number of women in tech, of Christian women in tech. And a woman came up to me and she said, in this room, there are about 4 women who have influence over about 1 billion people each. And she pointed to the company. So like Google, LinkedIn, Meta. And she said, the church doesn't even see us.
Yeah.
And I think that has been the echo of my 20 years in the US. Of women who are talented, who are gifted, who are called, who are faith-fueled. But where it lands is in multiple spaces, and wondering whether they can have that kind of level of investment, which helps them weigh, okay, what does it mean for God to call you in promotions?
Yeah.
And what does it mean for your life?
Yeah.
And what does it mean for your spouse?
Yeah.
And you? What does it matter? Who's earning more? Does it like every question? And people would ask me these questions in bathrooms, and I'm like, we haven't created enough vehicles.
Yeah. Yeah.
If the best we got,
don't even know,
is women shouting from the stall apologetically saying, "I'm sorry, I've got a question too," or women in ministry saying, how do I start preaching through how do I take what I've learned here and take it to the corporate space? How do I be a community? How?
Yeah.
And it has stirred me ever since. And it haunted me, to be honest. It haunted me because I would meet these lines of women weeping with frustration or alienation, just wanting, like, can someone help us out here? Or fitting themselves into molds that they just weren't them because that was the acceptable mold.
Yes.
And then it coming out sideways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Coming out sideways, or staying in faith environments that again took their money but didn't acknowledge them, didn't respect them, didn't honor them, and honestly just didn't even see them. Didn't even see them. And I think and so they found themselves so depleted by that threshold debate about whether they could be themselves and the leaders that they were, that they had no energy left to do the actual work.
Work they were called to do. Yeah.
The businesses they were supposed to start, books they were meant to write, the non-profits that they had time for, the companies, the innovations, the departmental systems and challenges and all of these things. There was no energy for any of that because they're still busy asking, am I okay? Being something that I did not create by myself.
Yeah.
It's been wild.
Yeah. No, I love that. And, it's a real problem to solve. It's a real problem to solve. And, just me being on the corporate side and seeing women of faith not knowing how to express their faith in the workplace, or even just completely separating it. And what I'm beginning to see as I do more research and as I do more work in this space is that many people are not even consulting faith-based resources when they're going through it at work. They just separate it completely. And it's like they need a vehicle. They need a bridge. They need a bridge, someone to bring them, right? Like that can help them, like someone who understands the corporate world, someone who understands leadership, someone who understands what they're going through, but then someone who is also biblically based, like understands what we're called to do, the purpose and all those things. I think that's what's missing, especially with women of color in the place. Yeah.
I feel like we are the way I often describe the resourcing is that women are sated and starved at the same time. So there's lots of fluffy stuff. And I mean, I can have a bit of fluff with anybody. There are cute devotionals here. There are cute things there. But there is saturation on one level, but starved because it's not actually feeding. It's not actually feeding. It's like not got the nutritional value.
It's a snack.
It's a snack. You can't live on snacks. I mean, we tried it. We all tried it in our 20s when our metabolisms were running hard.
Right.
And then we hit metabolism slowdown.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? And then it's almost like our spiritual gut health is messed up. Messed up. Because you can't live on that stuff alone. That's meant to be like the frisson. That's the compliment around it. It's not your sustainable diet. And meanwhile, whilst you're given those snacks, someone's telling you got to run an ultra marathon.
Yes.
And if you could strap a couple of babies with a wrapper on your back,
yeah.
And then we wonder why we're all struggling. Do you know what I mean?
know. It was like, what am I meant to do? It's like midlife crisis, don't even know what to do. You know, it's just so interesting.
Why am I tired?
Yes.
This is why I'm tired.
Exactly. So following on from this, I did have a question to ask you. When we think about, you've been a leader both in UK and the US, right? What is the difference? What are the differences that you've seen as a leader in the UK, as a Black woman of faith leader in the UK, and also a Black woman leader of faith in the US? I feel like there are huge differences, but would love to get your perspective.
I think there are huge differences, and I think, and some of it, I'm sure some of my experiences aren't entirely accurate, or they're not fully fleshed out because of the eras I was in which the spaces. But I mean, I do still go and speak in the UK. I still work in the UK. I think in the UK, in some ways, there are some wonderful things and some things that makes me sad. I think it's true of both, actually. So in the UK, I understand in many ways because it's where I was born, where I was raised. But I think it takes a lot for the UK to innovate.
Yeah.
It's a lot for the innovation, for the creativity. It can be slow on the uptake of innovation because this is how it's always been. And when they say it's always been, they mean 1,000 years. Now, someone here in the US will tell me about an old house and tell me it was built in 1980, and I'm like, you don't understand. We have different definitions of old. Like the first house I had when I was married is older than the state of Arizona.
Wow.
In its existence. My husband's house he grew up in was a Tudor house. You and I, that's not just a design. We're talking the 8th here. So So it means that the innovation piece is hard to get, and I suspect it's partly why we moved, because I felt I ran out of air, and space that I did. Like I could go down this track, and I'm like, but what if I'm not that track? What if I'm not that space? And the beautiful part of the established things is that sometimes there's a softer place to land, like hello maternity leave.
Yes, come on.
Taking care of people because you've built your systems. Those sorts of things I think are far more accessible and reachable. But if you are going to innovate, if you are somebody who is building things that aren't seen yet, you will have to self-start in all kinds of ways. And you may find yourself looking out of the box for your role models and your spaces and places and all of that because people are like, why? You know what I mean? Why? And I think in terms of the racism is just remarkably polite.
Yes, very. In comparison, yes. Do
you know what I mean? Like it's history books, so polite and often outsourced. Now, I think the history books are a little bit more honest than what I found here. And when I say a little, that's a polite English way of saying a lot more honest than here. But do you see what I'm saying? But I think there's a politeness, but there is I begin to see the bubbling up of spaces and places and churches who are like, and women who are like, okay, let's do something here. Let's see something here. My experience as a Black woman in the US has been very layered. layered in part because of how, I mean, let me give you an example. I can walk into a room in a social setting, in a restaurant setting, in a professional setting, and watch the multiple reactions as people see the darkness of my skin, and then they hear the accent, and the articulation of, and then the articulation in my voice, and the things that I say, because there are so many things being messed with in that moment. Do you know what I mean? There are so many things being messed with in that moment. And the ease, like it, that I think sometimes people find it odd that I feel at ease in certain rooms. And when I say ease, I don't mean they're easy. I think we're just used to them. Used to predominantly white spaces. It's not that I aspired to them. I'm just used to being, you know what I mean? I'm a leader. I will lead. That's my job. That's my call. I'm trying to be faithful. I'm not trying to be there. I'm just trying to be faithful to the one who called me by my name. That's the goal. But wow, it's challenging. I think the racism is explicit, and yet you can find, there are ways you carve your way through. There is an entrepreneurial spirit, which helps a lot here. So there are things you can do. Now, getting those things funded.
Tough.
Let's just have a moment of silence of all the dreams that have died because no one supported them. Because no one supported them. And so it is, I think America can be friendly to you if you've got your resources, and if you've got your village and you've got your people, then there's room. Like we said, we move because there's more room. There's more space. And I think professionally there can be more space. But it's not easy.
It's not easy.
And maternity leave, well, I'm not sure it's that kind to women. Honestly, I don't think America's that kind to women. I think as well, I took for granted how much having women in leadership at the highest positions in the UK, what that did. Whether it's a queen, and we know that there's not power in the same way, or whether it's Thatcher or what was it, Theresa May. Or Liz Truss for that 2-week period or whatever that was, because it meant you could have conversations about whether those people were competent.
That's
rather
true.
than whether they existed.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Here,
good point.
Like people are having comment. I'm like, we're still asking whether it can be done. I thought you were entrepreneurs. Like you look at different nation states in Africa, and you're seeing women who are leading in different kinds of spaces. You're looking at people Angela Merkel in Germany. You're seeing people who've done it. Multiples. And I'm like, wow, this is wild. So I think that is and I think that does have implications. Who is it? Marion Wright Edelman, who said it's hard to be what you can't see.
I was going to say, you can't be, I was literally going to say that you cannot be what you can't see.
And there's a lot, ironically, for all the innovation, and there are breakthroughs that we are yet to see.
Agreed.
In the corporate space, in the political space, in the faith space, in the community space, there are breakthroughs that we are yet to see.
And Jo, you touched on something that, well, actually, let me read this. You said, I want to see women live in their God-given potential and quit with the support and resources they need along the way. And I love how you're doing that. Like you're providing resources because, and you said it earlier, that one of the things in the US is that we have things, but we don't have the supports, right? We don't have we have some resources, but not enough, right? There's a common saying, or actually not a common saying, something that we know to be true is that many women in the corporate world are over-mentored and under-sponsored. And it's the sponsors that provide the opportunities, right? So they just think, if I have this person as my mentor, no. And those people are given advice, but that advice can't go anywhere because they need a vehicle to help them get to the opportunity. And that opportunity is the sponsor. And it's the sponsor. So my question to you is, what are some of the other resources that you think, professional women need, both internally and externally? Because I think that it's also a mindset thing here, right? It's not just like them being provided the resources. When they have it, they need to understand what to do with it and believe that they can actually fulfill what they need to fulfill. So what are some of those things that people need to make sure that they reach their full potential as a leader?
Let me, if I may, let me start with the mindset stuff first, because I think some of this part is generational.
But
but and I'll start with the mindset, and call me back if I go off on my rabbit trail
flow
and stuff. Just like it's all right. Call me back. But the mindset thing is huge because I think it determines some of the practices. When I was a kid, we used to play musical chairs a lot. And those games, where, you know, there's less chairs, lots of kids, music playing, and you're fighting for a toy.
Yeah.
Fighting for a toy that is banned in many countries of the world, but it's worth it. And you're unwrapping the paper, and hopefully you get there in time. And you do round and round, and as it gets faster and faster, and you're kind of walking faster, and you're elbowing people out the way, and it's the only time you can do acts of violence without getting beat. And it's all of these things. For that toy, and it's a great game for kids unless you're the one who lost, and then I'm sorry, but it's a terrible way for women leaders. And yet I come back to that picture again and again, that picture of so often for women in the professional space, it's a game of musical chairs.
Yeah.
And actually, as they seek to develop professionally, whatever space they're going into, it's a game of musical chairs. By that I mean multiple qualified women. 3 chairs. And so you're already set up because all of you have studied, all of you, if you're in the US, are paying off loans. All of us, wherever we are in the world, have bills to pay. All of us are trying to be faithful with gifts that God gave us when he made us image bearers. How do you do it?
Yeah.
How do you do it? Because there are 3 chairs.
Yeah.
And so then all the tools and the things that I'll refer to become these moments in our hearts, because you could make a connection, but if I make that connection and that person likes them more than me, do they get the chair or do I get the chair?
Yeah.
If I put that person's name forward, is it at my own expense? Do I have to get off my chair to let that person sit down? Because I work for this chair. I work hard for this chair. I prayed and fasted to get on this dang chair. And now in the name of the grace of God, I've got to give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Is she ready? And is she ready to be devoured like I've been devoured?
Exactly.
I got devoured for this chair.
Yeah.
And also, no one told me that my chair was actually a glass cliff because I only got given it when nobody else, nobody else would touch it. And now I've got to make it work.
Yeah.
And I think I've realized I've realized that for women of faith as well, there's this added layer of wanting to do the right thing. And the problem is the room.
Yeah.
The problem isn't you. The problem is the room.
Yeah. And the structure and the system.
And the structures and the systems aren't designed for you to thrive in, because if they were, there'd be a lot of chairs, or there'd be 3 or 4 chairs and them saying, you know what, we've only got 3 or 4 chairs here, but let me just take you on into this other place where there are 10 chairs. Let me take you to that other place and say, you've got to put this one on a chair because we cannot miss out on her gifts and all of that stuff. So I think I want to acknowledge the setup of this, because what we are talking about here is a culture change.
Yes.
And culture changes deal with systemic realities, and they're way harder. There is a challenge for those of us who have reached places of power, that we still don't feel the powerlessness of when we were sat down at 8 years old and said, you've got to be twice as good. Do you know what I mean? I am 51 and 8 at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm 51 and 13 in the school playground. I'm 51 and 21. All of the, and I've got to make sure that those voices aren't the ones still speaking to me.
Yes.
That those voices. So when Auntie Bassie sat me down and told me about the job stuff, she was talking about my career. She didn't tell me I had to be twice as good in relationships, twice as good in this, twice as good at that. My body's got to be twice as hot. She wasn't talking to that. So I need 8-year-old Jo to settle down. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? When I'm sitting here and I'm trying to be, and I'm looking at networks, I don't need to be 13-year-old Jo or 15-year-old Jo who really struggled with her friendship groups and wasn't sure whether she was too black or too dark or not enough and all of these things, and then live that out. In some way. Or feel like she's got to compete for all of these things. So when we have positions of power, I want to ask us, one of the ways that we shift things is we have to ask ourselves before the Lord, what culture change am I called to make? Because if there's one thing all of us are called to do, it's to make disciples. So what does that look like professionally?
Yes.
That means we become the sponsors.
Yes.
If we believe that Jesus is the best at everything, like he's not just best at saving the world, he's the best at leadership.
Yeah.
He is our model for leadership. He put people in positions before they were ready.
Yes.
And then guided them through it,
Yes.
mentored them through it. He picked them up after failure,
Yes.
restored them, and let them launch.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He let them make mistakes, talked it through with them, led them forward. He was generous and abundant in his giving of people. He chose people who were not like him, who didn't look like him, multiple groups of people. He had women who traveled with him. The whole thing. The whole thing. And
I love that.
And he lived all of this stuff out. What when we take that biblical principle, when we take that biblical practice that was multiplied and continued by the early church, what does it look like for us in 21st century Chicago, 21st century Joburg, 21st century Kenya, 21st century Berlin? That's what we need to be thinking about today for us as believers. And do we have people? Are there people we are invested in who are not as far along in their professional spaces, but but our testimony can be tools for their professional engagement, and perhaps we could treat people in the ways that we hadn't been. Rather than feel like we've got to be these like, she's got to get, it was hard for me, she's got to work her way to get there. I'm like, that is not a thing. That's like, I was traumatized. Now you've got to go through your own trauma and find your way. That's not a leadership tool. And also we just got to make sure that we are not that progress is not a threat. You know what I mean? Because so some of us might need to do some work. Do you know what I mean? Work before the Lord, and maybe talk to a therapist or something to get ourselves whole so that we can do this work. And because the people who blocked doors for us weren't healthy people.
That's why, hurt people.
Hurt people. Scary people are scared of people. Friend people are a threat to your progress. These are the things again and again. Now so there's that piece of it that I wanted to speak to those of us who are in positions of power. Some of us are further on in age. Some of us have had opportunities or entrepreneurs, but we've got to build different systems. We've got to build different practices. So that's one piece. I believe we lead from the inside out. And so I want every one of us, if we're wanting to thrive professionally, how are we doing on the inside? Like, you cannot violate your design specifications. At some point, you've got to rest. Because that will get because otherwise you will be overworking at the expense of your creativity, your ability to network, and your capacity to do your job. Don't become one-dimensional people, because you know what happens if you drop dead on the job? They replace you.
2 seconds.
You're saying she died here. There's no honoring. So I think there are those things. I think the other thing I think of, I often come back to that picture of when I was a kid with my aunties and just who was in the room. And there are a number of things that are happening in the room in this small flat in South London. There are loads of aunties, some who are related, some are, we're related, but we're aunties, so we don't. And there is food cooking, and there's always, I remember the one time my Auntie Bassie told me off she only told me off once, and it's, I made a pot for one. I made a pot of rice for one. She goes, that's not what she goes, we don't do that.
We do it for everyone.
Because you can't cook for one person.
Right.
You've got to cook for everybody. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's the only time I've ever been in trouble with her. And it was cooking for one. And then the TV is on. The news is on, because it's always the news, because it's like a member of the family. But because it's telling you what's happening in the world. And I think we are village built. There is no such thing as self-made. We know that. We're village built. And when I look at these women, immigrant women, they are all working out. Look, don't work at that agency. Those people are weird. These people pay you better. Let me tell. I'm going to tell them about you. They were sponsors for each other. They were sponsors for their peers. You haven't got anybody? Look, this woman will help you. Kind of thing. They fed each other. They didn't just have enough for one. They had enough resource, and the news was there informing their world, and they were agile. They were agile. They had to be agile. They grew up speaking Yoruba. They spoke English as well. They come and they are agile linguistically. They are agile culturally. They weren't agile in certain things and how they raised their kids. I mean, I'm not going to lie. They weren't perfect. But they worked out how to be an agile group of women for them all. because a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yes.
For us to thrive personally and professionally, work out what your village looks like. It will look different for each of you.
Yeah.
But that village has got to include a network that is beyond the people that you immediately know.
Yeah.
That network can be virtual, but it also needs to be physical. Also needs to be physical, because we don't know how, like, as with the bounds of technology developing, what that means for that resume that you put down into the void. Do know that most jobs are found through networking.
Yes. Yeah.
So we got to build networks. We've got to be. One of my friends, she would dedicate a percentage of her week just to networking.
Wow. Yeah.
Networking up, networking down. Networking up in terms of who are the people in the place she wants to go. Networking down, who are the people she's going to bring.
She's pulling up. Yeah.
And so I want us to commit to that. Commit to sustaining yourself well. What sustains you? Are you taking care of your bodies, your minds, your souls? Are you well fed? And that and feed your, and that again, are you well fed professionally? What's the news?
Yeah.
What's it in I can't remember, is it Chronicles, where it talks about the tribe of Issachar who
knew the times and seasons?
Yeah. And they made a move.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're not it. We're moving here.
Yeah.
Because of it. But you notice it's a community. It's not one person.
Yeah, it's a group of people. Yeah.
You're like, okay, son, he is the past.
Yes.
Here is the future.
Yes.
Done.
Yes.
You need a community of people who are looking at the world you're in and able to discern before the Lord how you make your moves.
Yeah. And also that scripture, in a multitude of counsel, there is safety. So that is it. You need those people together. Yeah. Yeah.
That is it.
You know, and one thing I see people get, I wouldn't say wrong, but people are working through, is also keeping their network warm, because, you know, sometimes I usually see that it's very transactional, right? It's like, okay, I need them for this season in my life, but guess what? I'm not going to engage them anymore. And then they're like, oh, actually, no, I need them now. And it's like, how do I go back to someone I was engaging before? I don't know how to do that, because I haven't spoken to them in like 6 months or 10 years. And I think that's really important. One of the things I actually do to keep my network warm is I send quarterly newsletters, right? And so I have my board of directors, or my, like, you know, my network, and I have personal and professional updates. And I send them updates like, hey, this is what's going on in my family. Many of them have known me for years. So like, this is what's going on in my family. This is what's going on in my career. And then I also ask, how can I help you? Because it's not just what you don't give to give. You give to also, I mean, you don't give to get, you give to give. Right? So you don't just focus on like what they can give you. Also ask how you can help them. You know, I think a lot of people don't realize that they can actually help their network, and the network is not just there to help them, but they can also go out and help. Right. So I think that is really important.
Center of the universe.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that with the personal and professional updates as well, because I think we have these tools at our disposal, whether it's Instagram or LinkedIn or TikTok or whatever. Let's use these things.
Yes.
Because if you're not telling your story, it's not being told. And I think it's really important. I was at a friend of mine held a retirement celebration meal for a mutual friend of ours. Another friend flew in for it, and they took her out to dinner. Yeah. And a gorgeous restaurant. And she did this thing, her version of the Eras tour. For this friend of ours, and said about the different eras of her professional career. And said, hey, what's the soundtrack of that time? What was the great thing about it? What were the hard things about it? What were the lessons learned? And we just sat, and there were a couple of things that really were notable about that time. One, there were 3 generations of us present at this time. What another was, it was really good to hear, but it was also really good for her to be able to say it. It was really good for her. You could see the life it brought her, just reflecting on what she'd learned, the lessons, because she's retiring, but that girl's going to be as busy as she ever was.
Yes.
She's doing it in different ways. But I thought there was just something, having these gathered spaces where you share your stories, where you share your wisdom, where you share your insights, where you contribute, where you receive and give, is a huge thing. Yeah. It's a huge, and I think we need to avail ourselves of our creativity to find what's your version of that. Yes. What's your way of doing that? It doesn't have to be the same way, but just something that applies that principle of these updates, this storytelling. Because if you aren't telling the story, it's either not being told or it's inaccurately being told.
So someone else is saying it. Yeah.
And I think when we come back to opportunities for us as women of color, for Black women, for Indigenous women, for whatever communities we're in, whatever countries we're in, our stories aren't always told well because they're not told by us.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we need to be, because when we tell our stories, like let me give an example of this and to illustrate the point. We think of the work of Shonda Rhimes, who has created all these TV shows like Scandal, Grey's Anatomy, How to Get Away with Murder, now Bridget, and all. She just goes on and on and on. She's prolific. Yeah. But I remember in her early days of Grey's Anatomy, she just said, I just wanted to tell stories of people they were the people who I saw. They looked like who I saw. And others are like, oh, this rich, diverse community that you're showing. And she's like, yeah, that's called my life. That's called normal. But she normalized it for those for whom it wasn't normal. For the rest of us, it was like, finally. We see ourselves.
Yeah.
It's important, isn't it? It has this reminder for us and an educator for others.
Yeah, that's great. I love how you said that. So carrying on with the point in terms of community, one of the things I know that you have a community of women, or you do a leadership retreat every year called the Ezra Collective. Did I say that right? Ezra.
Yeah.
Hey,
it's ancient Hebrew. It's ancient Hebrew. We weren't there.
Yeah,
we're pronouncing it.
But essentially, it gathers women leaders around the world, and you do a lot of development around professional and personal development. And I love that. First of all, when is the next one, so that our listeners?
Yeah. Well, we have to. I'm so excited to tell you. There are two things I want to tell you about. In November, we have our Aza retreat. Our Aza. It's a bit like a boot camp, to be honest. And that is November the 13th through 15th.
Okay.
And then we also have a retreat, a different, smaller, more curated gathering that we're having in Puerto Rico in January 2026.
Okay.
I think that the one that still got space is January 6th through the 10th, 2026.
Okay, awesome. I will link the links in the description bar below, so if people are interested.
What do you mean?
they can read more about it and sign up. But my question to you is, what is one shift, like as you approach these seminars or these leadership programs, what is one shift that you want to see with the women? I know we talked about community and things like that, but what are some of the other things that, as you prepare the agenda, as you walk through, what you want to deliver, what are some of the shifts that you expect women to
experience when they're there?
I
think it's a connect. There'll be a number of ones. There's and they all revolve around connecting. One is the connecting the dots of your identity and calling. So if you are made in the image of God, I want everybody to remember they are made in the image of God, which means that way you have with numbers, that way you have with consultancy, that way you have with strategy did not start with you. God delighted, and he made you and thought, Pedro gets this, this, and this, because I know that as she steps into the world I've created, and as she is commissioned in her mission, she joins me in the renewal of all things, bringing everything I've brought to bear. So it's a connecting the dots as an image bearer, as an Aza. The word Aza is the word translated help or helper. And we've often treated that word as an assistant because in 21st century English, that's what it means. But in the Bible, the word is a combination of words meaning to rescue, to save, and to be strong. That is what Aza means. And when it appears in the Bible, it appears about 100 times. Sometimes it's a man's name in the Bible. But it's most often God rescuing people from their enemies and one who had the resources to help, which is a very different angle. It suddenly takes you from a weak space to an empowered space. And empowered to say, it's a verb as well as a noun, meaning to protect, surround, defend, and cherish. So there's nothing unfeminine about it. This is womanhood. This is how God articulates womanhood. And it's the womanhood that we've often lived, but have always wondered whether is okay. So one of the things I love to do at Aza is connect the dots to say, not only are you okay, but this means you no longer have to live with being tolerated. You get to be celebrated.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Because God celebrates you. The other thing that I love to do at Aza is connect people with each other. And so we have a networking night as part of the thing, because and we deliberately invite women of different disciplines. So we have we have women in ministry, we have women in non-profit spaces, we have women in career spaces, because they each do things for each other. And again, it's that thing of, oh, you didn't realize, you thought, oh, what have I got in common with that woman who's a pastor? You're like, except her brother's a lawyer and is working, and that's the practice you wanted to get into. I mean, or what is all this ministry woman saying? What do I have to do with this woman in marketing? It's like, well, your marketing sucks. Point one. Two, help you. And also now you're beginning to see that the women you're trying to reach, you didn't like those Bible studies either. Neither did they.
Right.
Your data has just gone through the roof. And as well as friendships, as well as you're building your village. I'm just wanting to give people opportunities to build their village and to start in a place where it feels safe enough to not feel like you're using people. And then the final connect that we seek to make with Aza is connecting people to skills and calling. So we have times where we do a version of a SWOT analysis. So there's teaching, there's worship, but there's also workship times where we're like, let's just get some training. Let's do an assessment of where's your career at right now. Where what are the skill set that you want to develop? And we just keep on giving people analytical tools. If you were to do a leadership experiment for this part of your department, what would you want it to be? And allow the people around you to speak into that. So we like to be practical. I believe the Bible, Jesus has changed my life in very practical ways. He just changed it for heaven. Do you know what I mean? He didn't meet me as a 9-year-old so that X amount of years later, I feel better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he is here. The kingdom of God is here.
Yes.
The kingdom of God is here in your life, in your relationships, in your community, in your career.
Yes.
And so part of what we're doing is giving these women space to say, okay, what's God calling you to?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Go for that promotion. Is there anybody here we can connect you with about it? Yes, go for that thought. Let's just give you some space to allow God to help you dream bigger. We need innovators in this time. We need, for the sake of for the sake of society, we need some people we need to get up and do some things.
And do something.
And we need to lead differently. So that's that's the overall goal of that time, is that it's like a boot camp, and where I say we retreat to advance. We go away so that we go back to our spaces, because there are some conversations that just need to be distinct amongst women. Not because you want to spend all your time with it. And some of us have been wounded deeply by other women. We have been on that game, and we got pushed off the musical chair game. And we got bruises. And so it's weird to even feel like you're in community. There are some women who are like, I find church really hard. I find church really hard. And they come and we're like, okay. And so I often open it by saying, look, wherever you're at with faith, welcome here.
Beautiful.
Like, you are different politically, you are different ethnically, you're different culturally. You just need to know you're welcome here. We're leaders. We're big enough for this. But now let's go. Because we've got to speak to each other as who we are. There's a dignifying, or like in the room, we start Aza with everybody getting up and saying where they lead. Just to see that we've lived feeling like we're the only one so often. To see all these women around you saying, I lead in this space, I'm there, and to validate it. It's just a validating experience. So those are all the things that and my hope is you have these women who go out thinking, I've left this environment, but I'm not alone, because I've met some people. I've left this environment with a clear idea of who I am and whose I am. And I've left this environment with maybe some strategic plans, some ideas, some dreams, some next steps as I pursue my leadership. That's what we're going after.
I love the whole tactical, practical piece, because I think sometimes people go on retreats and it's great spiritually, but they don't leave with the strategy, the roadmap, the next steps. And that's exactly what this does. So thank you for that. And I'm excited. Again, I'll put the links below. The last question for today, Jo, because this has been such a great conversation.
Thank
you. Have to do it again. Yes. But the last question is, as you think about your leadership legacy, right, with your daughters, or even just like the women that you mentor, what is one thing that you want people to be saying about you in the next 20 years?
I think that she empowered and ignited women to do, so that they could do what they're called to do. I think that would be the thing. For me, success looks like that woman saying, I'm starting a business. Success for me looks like these women saying, like taking up God-given space, creating, dreaming, trying, innovating, or rising through the ranks of their communities and changing cultures. So success for me is these women being catalyzed and empowered to do what God had always called them to do.
Awesome. Well, the people have heard. So if you want her to help you with that, again, I'll put the links down below to your website, to your amazing books, to your retreats. And thank you for the wisdom that you poured out on us today. It's been beautiful. It's been wonderful. We've all grown in this short hour because you have poured into us. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
You have poured into us. I pray that God will pour into you. The scripture that says, he that refreshes will also be refreshed. So I pray that as you continue this journey, you will also be refreshed. Thank you so much, Jo. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for listening to the Christians in Corporate podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I would love to hear your feedback. So please be sure to comment down below or connect with me on social media using the handle @PaisuraKintarin. Oh, wait, and one more thing. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content just like this. See you in the next episode.